Hello everyone. It's February the 11th today, 2022. The revolution is on. I guess there's no doubt on that, and it won't go away so fast. This will last for quite a while till we will see real results, so be prepared. This will be probably going into April till we will see first clear signs of success that the people are winning. So they will try really hard. They will give in on one level and then bring in something totally different to throw us out of balance. So be prepared, but it is on and it is visible in astrology so powerfully. I thought I should make another video about that. It's particularly about a few of the newer planets which are adding a very explicit and very clear language here, showing that this has been pretty much in the Canadian chart as it was conceived in 1867, that this moment already was contained, what we now see playing out. That's what I want to show you. I want to show you all the synchronicities. And not all of them, but at least the most prevalent, the ones which are standing out. I already mentioned the Sun-Uranus conjunction in the Canadian chart, which always made me wonder when this will fully come forward. We are now in it. Absolutely, the revolution is happening. One particular planet, TX300, 2002 TX300, was discovered in 2002, as this shows, has not been given a particular name yet. But this body has been found by different astrologers to be showing something bold, big, loud, kind of, which is not going away so fast. And I was wondering if this had to do with big trucks, with big rigs, and for sure. So in the Canadian chart, this is here at 2133 in Virgo. It doesn't really show very strong aspects at first sight, but I was doing a little bit of an analysis and I show you some symmetries here which I found, just to show you that this little planet indeed is very well integrated into the chart. First of all, if we look at midpoints, then between TX and the Sun is Salacia. Salacia is about enjoying what we are doing, and naturally Canadians, they love doing working with big machines. Uranus is here too, so that adds definitely to that. Then we have in that same axis we have Saturn and Pluto. Actually the midpoint, the exact midpoint between TX300 and the Sun would be 15 degrees 12 in Leo. The midpoint between Pluto and Saturn is 1646. The midpoint between the fourth house cusp and TX300 is 1626, so that is really close out. This is Saturn Pluto, that's what we are seeing right now. That's the big war, the big spiritual war which is going on. So Canada has this opposition in its birth chart, which shows that we are ready to take on big issues as a nation, and we are actually thriving in that. And that midpoint between the fourth house cusp and TX300 is pretty darn exact by 20 minutes, 1626 versus 1646. Then if we do the midpoint between TX300 and the moon, which is the people being bold and loud. The midpoint here is 10 degrees 16 minutes in Leo, and that is opposing Hijeya, which is about health, well-being, and bringing things into a perfect balance again. Interesting enough that right now we have an exact opposition between Hijeya here in about 11 degrees Scorpio, and Uranus 11 degrees Taurus. That was exact on February the 5th at 10:57 to be exact. So that is an interesting, I would say, one of the activators of this energy, and we will get to quite a few more. I'm just starting with that one. So now you see the Canadian ascendant here is 23-23. That's what I was rectifying the chart for quite a few years ago. It seems to be really holding strong, as we will see. I will show you some more real amazing synchronicities here. I mentioned the one that Venus had turned direct on January the 29th. That was that first day when all the rigs were meeting in Ottawa on the 29th of January. Venus went direct at 11:04 Capricorn, right here at the center of the focus of this Canadian chart, which is the consciousness axis, what we are focusing on, and naturally that Venus coming back to forward motion. I had spoken about that already in December. This would be a day to look forward to, and it sure was that case. At the time, I really didn't expect that Canada would be in the limelight so much, and I'm very thrilled, as we all are here in this country. Finally, we get to be in the lead of this global revolution. It's really beautiful to see. Now, why I point out 23 here, that's where Eris is at present time. Actually, Eris is a very, very slow planet. It has to do with not shying back from conflict in search of greater harmony. That is the basic message here. And Eris is a very slow one, as I say. It's actually for 120 years in the sign Aries. Its orbit is pretty eccentric, so it's farthest away from the sun here in this part of the zodiac and closest here. So in Libra it is only for a few years, versus in Aries it's for 120 years, between 1920 and 2040. And around this degree I have used this great program Rial for Windows, which is freeware. Everybody can download that. Jose Revilla is the author of this program. Allows you to calculate quite a few things here with some of these new planets. So this is kind of shows you how slow this planet moves. These are just the stations when Aries turned direct, when it turns retrograde, and you see it circled that 23rd of degree of Aries between 2013 and 2023. So this is a long process. It seems it took a while for the Canadians to really take on that lead role, and the explanation might be that Aries in their birth chart here is in the 12th house, a little bit hidden, a little bit shy, but finally after having been pushed to that place, I guess we finally take on that role. Now, interesting enough, on the 10th of January, Aries turned direct, and this is the chart I cast for Ottawa for that moment. Venus here again at the bottom of the chart, so it is about freedom, about harmony, about standing up for the weak ones, for those who have whose rights have been taken away. That's very much a Venusian trait. Caring, protecting, in Capricorn, taking on social responsibility. So this was kind of at the core of this seed chart, if you want, the seed meaning of standing up and speaking up. Watch out, this axis here, 13 degrees Aries here at the 7th house cusp. If you go back to the Canadian chart, you see that's where not only the equatorial ascendant is, which is how the Canadian voice is heard all over the globe, but also that's where the part of fortune is, which is what brings us as a nation, makes us feel good. I guess that's the best way to put it. And Neptune is here too. Neptune being the planet which is usually very disguised and under the radar. So that's why when finally we get out of this 12th house position into the limelight. So this was already clear if one would have looked for it in that chart of Aries turning direct, again moving outward with her energy. Aries, by the way, the one who dethroned Pluto, set the planetary hierarchy into a proper place again, because as we all know, Pluto is a very small body comparingly to Neptune, which is about 15 times bigger in diameter. So Pluto is really a minor planet in the same category as Aries, Haumea, Makemake, and you name them. There's probably about 20 or more which have that a size of roughly 1,000 to 2,000 miles in diameter. So that was definitely the right move at the time in 2006. Aries was the first one to be discovered who was slightly bigger than Pluto, so Aries really threw that golden apple of discord into the middle of the table round of the astronomers, who then had to figure it out, got into that debate, and that's what Aries is about, generating that debate, bringing the themes onto the table. Very interesting here, 16 degrees Cancer and Capricorn. When we do the midpoint chart between this Aries direction change and the Canadian birth chart, then we get this chart here, and you see again 16 degrees. Now we have the other two cardinal signs. So this just confirms that yes, this phase, these few months of Aries moving forward will be centered around the Canadian nation. I just want to have you remember the 3 degrees here, Leo, Aquarius, the 3 degrees axis, as this will repeat here in quite a few charts as we are going. Just that's how it works in astrology, as I discovered, that these different important moments, they lock into each other and kind of build a very solid structure of intent. Interesting also that in this midpoint chart, which is how the Canadian nation is affected by this energetic shift of Aries moving forward again, right at the ascendant, as we saw, you see again 23, and Aries, when it turned direct, was at 2341. So just a little bit in the first house. So when that happened, Moon-Uranus conjunction here. Also, 1249 was the Sun here at midpoint, and 1235 TX300, again in a perfect T-square here, standing out totally. In opposition to Saturn and the equatorial point here. Again, that's how our energy is heard all around the globe. And that is the degree of the Canadian Sun and Uranus conjunction here at 8 degrees 51, you see. And then the fourth house cusp, the source point 1118. So you see how this all really comes together quite amazingly. Now let's just keep going, because only 8 days later, on the 18th of January, TX300 also came to turn direct, which happens once a year, as these outer planets for many months appear to go backwards from Earth's point of view, and then when the Sun again is coming closer to the planet, you see that is when the Sun here was at 28 degrees Capricorn, and TX300 started turning direct again from Earth's point of view. Interesting that this happened first of all under a full moon, under a separating full moon. That means the moon is already going away, releasing in Leo. And this is the chart for Ottawa again. Very powerful Sun Pluto here at the fourth house cusp. So you see, it is impossible to track all and everything here unless one would have a supercomputer. Maybe then it would be possible to find out all these resonance points. But there's always so much going on. So in retrospect, it's always easier. But it definitely confirms what astrologers have found about all these planets. Pluto, naturally, is about power. About also the transformation of power, particularly in Capricorn, together with the Sun here in a full moon. Aries again here at the descendant, and if you think back, this is pretty much the same axis as we have in the Canadian chart, just the other way around. So if we now do the midpoint again between this moment and TX turned direct and the Canadian birth chart, we get this chart. Again, this is 1944. Again, for those of you who are not fully into this technique, it's actually a technique I pretty much discovered myself too. It's usually used for relationship charts between whatever you and your beloved, or whatever. I mean, all the different relationships. But it makes total sense to use this as a relationship between an individual and what is going on at present. Shows you how that those two energies meet and interact. So this is again Canada interacting with these bodies, this bold and loud and strong and big and momentous energy starting to express towards the outer world again. I guess you can't overlook this one here. Pretty amazing, dead on, an exact conjunction between the North Node, the evolutionary direction, and the moon, which represents the people in a nation's chart. So the people are making history here. That's what it says. TX300 in this midpoint chart here at 1236 again, in this opposition to Saturn, as I pointed out, because you see that this moves very slowly. If we just quickly compare it, go back to 8 days earlier when Aries had changed direction. You see then this was the 6th of October. This moves at half the speed. By then the moon was here, and then these 8 days divided by 2, the moon moved up to this node to catch up with the node. So let's see what else. I mean, there's so much going on, and I'm really just focusing on the things which stand out the most. So on that same day, when Uranus, when TX300 in the early morning hour started moving direct again here, just a few hours later, Uranus also changed direction, and that is the chart for Uranus shift here, now moving direct at 10:49. And as I okay, so Hijab at that time again, which is about health, well-being, and bring things back in balance, is here in opposition to TX300, now moving direct. And the moon, again, T-squaring the 2. Also Astrea is here. Astrea, the one who's, that's a asteroid, always showing up when we are to solve a problem, when we are to get our hands dirty and get things done. The moon, the people are naturally standing together, get things done, and the rigs with their big horns and their big energy, immovable machines which are blocking the way if necessary to make a stand, draw a line. And it's pretty much like Gandhi had taught us many years ago. That's how it's done. Just peacefully sit in front of the parliament, wait till the powers give in to appease the people, and usually the police would come and remove all these people, put them to jail. Now, well, with big rigs you cannot really do that, and as we know by now, pretty much all border crossings are blocked, and this has taken on a global momentum now, as in many other countries they have gotten onto that same storyline and do the same in their countries. So just be prepared if you are in Canada or any other place. Supply chains will be disrupted. That is not avoidable anymore. So better go and stock up on essentials as long as they are available in stores. The flow of goods between the United States and Canada pretty much has stopped. All border crossings are blocked more or less. So this won't change for the next probably 2 months till solutions are found. That's when what astrology also indicates April will be the month when first clear victories are coming our way. And it will be not an easy time, so be prepared. There will be also other things which are happening, for example, the whole Ukraine thing, which most likely is just noise, interrupting that narrative which we should put our energy onto and which has been reported here in Canada naturally as we are here, but in a very wrong way. But in all other countries around the world it's still not even spoken about. It's just those citizen reporters, YouTube and whatnot, Rumble, BitTruth and so, which are reporting on these things. Also, we can expect to throw that in here too, that there will be some big disruptions on the financial markets coming our way, probably in early March. That's what it looks like. There will be a frontal attack on all cryptocurrencies, so be aware and prepared for that. Maybe not a bad idea to get out, at least to be not too exposed in this segment, as there are clear plans to take these cryptos down, as they then want to implement their government issued cryptos, which will be fully earmarked, so everything is recorded and every cent you spend will be traced back to where it's coming from, where it's going to. So this is where the whole thing is moving to, and that's what they are pushing. So this is Uranus when it turned direct in Ottawa, and what stands out here naturally is also the Sun-Pluto conjunction, and this is naturally a worldwide thing. True for TX300 and Uranus, which both turned direct on the same day, on that 18th of January, which happened to be also the same day when the nodes changed, which made this shift even more momentous. It is always when several things happen within hours, then this is a very strong landmark, a peg in the ground, a milestone. And in that sense, this is then the seed point for a 18-month period for the nodes. So we are now in the middle of that. I mean, not yet in the middle, but at the beginning of this big time stretch. Yeah, it's truly a super exciting period of time we're in. So again, this was still under a full moon, and as you see, the moon, yes, is in that T-square with TX300, Estrella and Hygeia. And Radamanthus is here too. Radamanthus, all about justice and righteousness. So this is quite a charged grand square. So if we then keep going, 2 days later then on the 20th, it seemed that was what then actualized all these energies, kind of fired everything up. There was this huge solar flare, the biggest one this year, and was the biggest one in months. And that's been my observation too, that big solar flares are usually initiators making things really start rolling. And that was just 2-3 days before that convoy started rolling, which we didn't know by then, but it is definitely in that line. I mentioned the 3 degrees fixed sign axis, which we had here in this chart. You're right, the midpoint chart between Aries station and the Canadian chart. So this comes up here now in this chart again. Now if we do the midpoint chart for this one with the Canadian one, I liked that quite a bit, the 157 here at the ascendant Capricorn. That is the black moon in the Canadian chart. This would have been a clear indication that this solar flare brought the shadows right to the forefront. It kind of pulled all the curtains off of what has been hidden for so long, brought all the problems into plain sight in Capricorn. Interesting, this is also the direction the whole solar system is moving, the solar apex it's called. So this is a pretty powerful degree, the 2nd degree of Capricorn. Again, another indication that Canada is meant to be the leading nation to pull off that takedown of tyranny, of global enslavement, to kind of give the initial push to that domino, which it will be. This is really just a start. This is way, way bigger than just these mandates. This is just the beginning. Believe me, this will not end so fast, because we won't stop after we have gotten the first victory, which will be the removal of all these mandates. After that, there will be Nuremberg 2, where all these people who have done so wrong, who are culpable of so many crimes, they will be brought to justice. This will be the next level up, and you can see then all the many things the media will have to be brought to justice for distributing all these lies. So this is a big shift which has just started. Interesting when we look at this midpoint chart of the solar flare with the Canadian chart. Again, we see the moon here at 622 Leo now in a T-square with Nessus and Okiroi, which is an accelerator, an amplifier. Nessus is the forces of darkness in a nutshell. All the things difficult and dark and dirty, and it so happens that this position here, that's where the transiting TX300 is. You see, it all comes together. That's the resonance points. That's how astrology works. 0 degrees Scorpio here and midheaven in Ottawa. Interesting. Mars up here. I pointed Mars out multiple times. Mars has been rising in the New Year's chart, the Chinese New Year's chart. If you want to go back to that recording, I mean, all my last recordings, they show different aspects of what's going on now. So they're not just for that moment, for that day, and you can learn a lot by just listening. Okay, so this is now today. We had a lunar return for the Canadian chart. Means the moon came back to the exact degree it has. It so happens that chaos, which again is a Kuiper Belt object, has about a 300-year or so orbit, very similar to Pluto. Chaos is about original order. Defragmenting reality in a way to bring back the natural order that is the basic and original meaning of chaos, which has been inverted in its meaning in the 19th century, as so many things have been inverted, so many powerful symbols, we know that. So chaos is here with the Canadian moon, and this will get more exact over the next year or two, which means it's a rebirth of sort of coming back to nature, coming back to an original state. So that definitely shows again that the Canadian people are here at the leading edge of a reformation in a much bigger way. I should mention the Venus-Mars conjunction, which is going on for 6 to 8 weeks now. That's very unusual. Venus-Mars here at the beginning of the 6th house, which is about health, well-being and service. Venus and Mars, that phase, those whole 6 to 8 weeks, are about creation, creating a new direction, and that's what we are pretty much seeing happening. There will be 2 exact conjunctions on the 16th of February, and then Mars will be slightly ahead of Venus for about 3 weeks, and on March the 6th will be the 3rd and final conjunction. We get to that in a minute. So that's a very creative time of giving birth to many new initiatives and ideas. It's a time of dreaming a new reality into manifestation by our intentions. Now, I liked this too, so this is something different here. This is, you see, we go back here quickly to this chart here. That was when on the midpoint on the 18th of January. Which came up as October 9th. Now, this chart moves half the speed of the real time, as it's the midpoint. So 4 weeks later, in real time, which brings us to the 14th of February around, if we take the midpoint from that moment, this brings us to October 23rd, and that is when Saturn turns direct. Now this is important. You see, the midpoints again are how Canada is handling these present energies, with Saturn turning retrograde in Cancer. And again, we have to see it in a bigger picture. That is right here. You see, 1047. So this is a powerful spot. Saturn will go backwards over the natal sun here, Uranus, and this will be a time of a deep crisis in government, which is foreseeable, that is coming, and this is the turning point of that crisis being initiated, so to say. First of all, let's again look at the moon at this moment. The moon here at 8 degrees and something Capricorn, and here is TX300 again. You see the theme here, it keeps repeating. Also vertex is here, but most of all, if we do the midpoint between the moon and TX300, I did a little math here before, so I tell you. This midpoint is at 1038, and that is pretty dead on exact opposing Saturn. So it, in a nutshell, you could say the people and the big rigs, the big machines, the big trucks are initiating a government crisis, which is not far-fetched. I guess it's pretty obvious if we see what our Prime Minister has been uttering lately. It's just unbelievable. He is definitely having to pay for what he's putting out right now, how he's behaving. That is totally criminal to treat people that way. That has to be persecuted. That's Saturn. Saturn turning retrograde. Now I want to show you again another really neat synchronicity. Look at this degree. The next chart is the secondary progressed chart for Canada. Secondary progress, if you are an astrologer, you know what that is. That's 1 degree. I should say it differently. 1 day after birth counts for 1 year in one's life. So this is where the planets stood 100, how many years old is Canada now? 160 something. 1867, yeah, 160 years or something, 160 days after the Canadian nation was born. Just want to show you this, what that means. It means the sun on July the 1st, 1867 was here at 8 degrees Cancer something, and in these 160 days has moved to this degree here, 10 degrees Sagittarius. That's the progressed sun of the Canadian nation. Now the progressed moon, 2259. The moon moves about a degree per month in this chart, as it in regular time moves about 1 degree, 12 degrees per day. So the secondary progressions is a fractal principle. It is 1 time the Earth rotating around itself is the fractal of 1 time the Earth revolving around the sun. I could say many more things here. Just one more thing here. The lunar node here at 9 degrees 22 in this progress chart, and 916 here is the south, is Aries at the south node. So this is really the time where Canadians are finding their voice, and this is not ending so fast. This will be on for the next few years. So Canada is truly slipped into a leadership role in a global way. This is just the beginning. We have found our voice. I'm so proud to be here, to be in Canada, to be a Canadian. So proud of all my fellow Canadians who are doing the right thing. I could say again many more things to this chart. Just one more thing. You see there is this T-square to this nodal axis. So that's a grand square between Mars, Aries, Earth, the node, the equatorial point again, the global recognition of our voice. I just found this moon here really special in that respect, and that 22 degrees Aquarius point, this has been activated multiple times in the last year. Okay, I have a few more charts here for you, just a little preview. So on the 16th of February, that's just 5 days away, Venus and Mars have their second conjunction, and again, you won't believe it, that's the chart for Ottawa, and Venus and Mars will be exactly in midheaven, 1635, 1653, that's only 18 minutes of the exact zenith in the 10th house, the house of public affairs, of government, rebirth in that sense, recreation. And again you see the 3 degrees fixed signs, Taurus and Scorpio. If we zoom back to Eris chart, ERIS, by the way, if you haven't gotten that one yet. So that was the midpoint chart. See, 3 degrees Leo, Aquarius, and then we had that other one here with the 3 degrees. That's also 3 degrees, but cardinal. I guess it was, yeah, you see there's too many charts. That was the solar flare. Okay, so the solar flare already was preparing the ground for that Venus-Mars conjunction. The Venus-Mars conjunction, yes, that is 16th of February, 9:30 a.m. roughly, and only a couple hours later, see, it will be under a full moon. That 6 of 8 full moons in exact aspect to the galactic center at 2709. I keep repeating this, but this is really at the very core of what's going on this planet right now. Between September 2021 and April 2022, for 8 consequent full moons, the galactic center will be in the picture. The galactic center opening the doors to a much greater arena, pulling the curtains open to a galactic frequency. So this means many things. It is the evolution of humankind to a higher dimension. That's what's really going on, to take our power back. That's what is the core theme here. So this is just that Venus-Mars conjunction a couple hours before full moon, 9:28 Venus-Mars conjunction here, and 11:56, just 5 minutes before midday. and again 2244. You just can't make these things up. It's just over and again. And Uranus here in a perfect opposition to vertex and still Hygeia. So Uranus Hygeia, as I say, that was exact on the 5th of February, but that's really just the midpoint of when this energy was most prevalent. Here activated with the vertex, the higher dimensional meeting point with the outer world. Uranus 1111, I like that a lot. 2244, another double number. And then this is the midpoint again between that full moon and the Canadian natal chart. The moon here again strongly pronounced, the moon, the people, in the T-square to the ascendant and the descendant. The sun at 0 degree Scorpio now, so it gets more intense. Be prepared. This is just, we were still in that midpoint Libra energy for the last 2 months, as this chart moves half the speed. Remember that 0 degree Scorpio that was activated with the solar flare. I think this is the one. No, it's not. It's just that's the one here. Nope. Yeah, it is. 08 Aquarius that was, and then right the midpoint chart, the 0 degree Scorpio. Again, that resonance between these two moments with the sun here when the flare happened at 008 Aquarius, and the midpoint here with the Ottawa chart, the Canadian capital, again being the fractal of the whole country at 0 degrees Scorpio. That perfect square showed that this solar flare would strongly leave its mark. Would activate something which would leave its mark here in Canada, as these are all seed charts, initiation milestones, as I keep repeating myself. So yes, that is the full moon, which then brings this energy to a full blossoming, and be prepared for extreme situations. Helonome here, another one of these outer planets, outer points here, which are all minor planets newly discovered, which added on new facets to human consciousness, all discovered over the last 20 to 30 years, which is showing that we are becoming more conscious on so many more levels, adding new facets as a species. Helonome is a very beautiful energy. It's a female centaur who is ready to sacrifice everything to follow his heart. Again, the early degrees of Leo and Aquarius here too activated, which we had in this other chart here. Let me see, which one was it? Let's see which one I wanted to. It was one here with the moon at this position. yeah, here we go. That was TX300 again, when it turned direct at 0 degree Leo. So that degree is coming back here. So yes, don't expect these rigs to disappear from the scene so fast. That's what it says. So just as a last teaser, on March the 6th, when Venus and Mars will have their third and final conjunction in this cycle, actually at 001 Aquarius, just hours prior, Venus and Mars enter the sign of Aquarius on March the 6th. Definitely a day to put a big circle around in your calendar. And one more little bonbon. 2126 Sagittarius rising, that brings the whole thing to full circle. 2133 Virgo TX300 in the Canadian birth chart, bringing that degree right to the exact highest point here over the horizon. This Venus-Mars conjunction, which will set the pace for the coming 2 years, more or less, or maybe not quite that long, but more than 1 year for sure, till the next Venus-Mars conjunction happens. Happens during a Sun-Jupiter conjunction. How beautiful is that? Expansion, victory. That's what it shows. Yes, there is Nessus here too. There is some how to say, integration of darkness which has to happen. It will not be all just nice and beautiful. Nobody expects that, but there will be expansion, there will be hope, a great new panorama opening. Again, remember the 0 degree Aquarius point is supercharged. That's where Jupiter and Saturn had their historic conjunction on winter solstice 2020, initiating a 20-year cycle, really giving birth to the Aquarian age. So this will be bringing in that Aquarian energy at the not yet experienced level of creation, starting early March. Well, I'll leave it at that. I hope you had fun. And talk to you soon again. Okay, I love you all. I'm super excited. It is a difficult time, but it's definitely worth participating as totally as we can and be in our heart, support all that and what's happening out there with whatever we can. It is our frequency, our collective frequency, which allows to happen what is happening. Thank you.